Some others have found this an opportunity to shame the BJP's model of government, saying that India will never have a minority candidate who can aspire for the top job in the country. Is this political nitpicking, or is this convenient cherry-picking of facts, because India has had minority prime ministers and minority presidents in the past? But more than the minority card, it is what they brought to the table, their capabilities, their meritocracy, which enable them to get the job. As is the case with Rishi Sunak, someone who got the best of education, someone who proved his mettle both in the private sector as well as in government. But here's how his appointment has become a controversy even amid a celebration.
And I have been elected as leader of my party and your Prime Minister, in part, to fix them. And that work begins immediately.
While Rishi Sunak has made history by becoming UK's first British Asian Prime Minister, his selection has triggered a political storm in India. Many opposition leaders have used Sunak's victory to target the BJP. Congress MP and former Finance Minister P. Chidambaram said there is a lesson to be learnt by India and the parties that practice majoritarianism. His fellow partyman Shashi Tharoor followed suit.
To actually create a situation where a brown man can become Prime Minister. I think that's an extraordinary achievement. I would really like to see the Hindutvavadis of the BJP being prepared to embrace somebody. Would they embrace somebody who's an overtly practicing Muslim or Christian as Prime Minister?
Former Jammu and Kashmir Chief Minister and PDP Chief Mehbooba Mufti said that while the UK has accepted an ethnic minority member as its Prime Minister, India is still shackled by discrimination. The BJP immediately dismissed the opposition's claims.
India is rejoicing, Indians are rejoicing globally. So let us celebrate that. Today is not the occasion for political divide.
जी और एक लंबी श्रृंखला है तमाम जो संवैधानिक पद हैं उस पर जो है वो कभी जाति धर्म और कुनबा ये नहीं महत्व रहा काबिलियत महत्वपूर्ण रही.
The fact of the matter is that India has had a Sikh Prime Minister, several Muslim presidents, and the current head of state is from the tribal community. So is the opposition's majoritarianism argument far-fetched, or is there a need to introspect?
All right, on the talking point this evening, Guru Prakash Paswan is national spokesperson of the BJP. Will be joined by Harinder Sikha, author and analyst. Kailash Adhikari is director with Governance Now. Kapil Madan, a lawyer and political analyst, and Adnan Malik, political analyst, also joining us. Kapil Madan, let me start with you first. When Mr. Chidambaram, Mr. Tharoor say that will this happen in India where a person from a minority community can aspire to the top job, why are they discounting the fact that Manmohan Singh, a Sikh, was Prime Minister for 10 years from the Congress Party? Why are they discounting that APJ Abdul Kalam was a Muslim and President of India, the first citizen, for 5 years? There have been numerous instances of presidents who've come from the minority community or prime ministers who've come from the minority community. So it's not like, Britain needs to show India the way or anything of that sort, as has been presented or made the case by the likes of Mr. Chidambaram and Mr. Tharoor.
Zaka, I think we're talking about the times where you have zero member of parliament in Lok Sabha from the incumbent government, from the BJP. We're talking about the time when you have zero cabinet minister from Muslim community in the Council of Ministers. And this has been said in that backdrop because now, I mean, this is not the BJP of Atalji. This is the BJP of Narendra Modi, which is driving and thriving on massive polarization. It does not even require any kind of indication that the BJP thrives on polarization. Now
But Kapil, is your point that minority community candidates just can't aspire for high constitutional offices in this country because the BJP can turn around and say that a Dalit president also comes from a marginalized community, comes from one of the most disadvantaged communities. A tribal woman president comes from one of the most disadvantaged, both socially and economically disadvantaged communities. Even that is representation in high office. It's not just that you have to be Muslim or Christian or Sikh to be considered minority.
Zaka, let me tell you, I am not for a minute saying that you should give precedence to religion over merit. Of course, yes, when someone needs to be elected to any government offices, any office of public importance, of course the merit should be the predominant deciding factor. But we need to understand and we need to see what this incumbent government does. I mean, this is the government that is following extreme right-wing, political ideology, where I mean, their minister left, right, and center indulges in hate speeches targeting a particular community.
Look, once again, that's a separate debate from that's a separate debate from today's debate topic is very simple. It's taking off from what Mr. Chidambaram, Mr. Tharoor said, that minority candidates, even if they are meritorious in this country, cannot aspire to high office because the politics is that of majoritarianism. So let me ask Guru Prakash Paswan of the BJP the two specific points that Kapil Madan said. Number one, you don't have a single Muslim member of parliament and you have 300 of them, and you don't have any Muslims in the Union Council of Ministers as of right now. Please respond.
Zaka, I would like to remind your viewers that the founding members of the Bharatiya Janata Party, Sikandar Bakht Sahab was one of the founding members of the Bharatiya Janata Party. For the first time in our history, Zaka, we have a Pasmanda Muslim, a Muslim from a backward and the marginalized community, Danish Rizwan Ansari, in the Uttar Pradesh cabinet. Don't they deserve representation? Don't they deserve justice? If you are backward or marginalized, do the only elite among the Muslim deserve to be represented? I ask my friend from the Congress party. Ghulam Ali ji was sent to Rajya Sabha. Who is Mr. Ghulam Ali? Probably my friends don't know. Mr. Ghulam Ali is a Gujar, a scheduled tribe Muslim from Jammu and Kashmir. Maybe Mehbooba Mufti ji is not aware of him. Maybe Mehbooba Mufti ji is not aware because he is a scheduled tribe. He is a Gujar. He is a Muslim. The point is precisely this. Be it Mr. Tharoor, be it Mehbooba Mufti ji, they just want to do the minority appeasement politics. That has been the fundamental
so
problem.
How are you making that distinction?
No,
once again, Guru, you are saying you've sent Muslim candidates to the Rajya Sabha, you're saying you've got Muslim candidates as ministers in the UP government. Why then couldn't you find a single capable enough Muslim candidate, obviously one who can win an election, to field in the Lok Sabha? Or why couldn't, in the UP election that happened earlier this year, couldn't you find a single candidate, a Muslim candidate, who could win an assembly seat? Or is that stated policy that you believe that that is appeasement, therefore you will not give tickets just because somebody happens to be a Muslim?
No, Zaka, that is entirely not the case. If there is any candidate who is a winnable candidate, BJP will already have, in the history you see, in Bihar elections there were Muslim candidates. In multiple other state elections, you have had Muslim candidates. That is not the point. But the point which I am trying to convey is precisely this. When predominantly Muslim seats like Rampur and Azamgarh, these are predominantly Muslim seats. They have voted for the Bharatiya Janata Party. Who has benefited the abolition of triple talaq? Who has benefited the abrogation of Article 370? The beneficiaries of Jan Dhan Yojana, 47 crore bank accounts nationally. You are suggesting that there are no Muslims in it? This is preposterous to suggest,
okay.
Zaka. Our only point is that
one is welfare schemes. Once again. I think again we're confusing two issues. One is welfare schemes. Is there any discrimination in welfare schemes? No, I don't think that's the case the opposition is making. The opposition is making a case for meritorious minority candidates. Can they aspire for high office from within the BJP? Anyway, let me get Adnan Malik. You know, the problem with this minority candidates can't aspire for the top job argument is that Rishi Sunak's extraordinary political journey has been reduced to the fact that he's a minority candidate. That's the greatest, gravest, most unfair thing that you can say to him and of his career, because look at the schools he went to. He's gone to Oxford, he's gone to Stanford, he had a shining career as an investment banker, gave all that up, came to England at the age of 35 to run for Member of Parliament, won his first election. And in 7 years in public life, he's gone from MP to PM. I mean, if this is not a story of merit, then I don't know what it is.
Yes, very true that Rishi Sunak is totally become Prime Minister of UK is on the basis of merit. Uh, Due to his good work as a finance minister, he did, at the time of Corona, he was did give subsidies to the industries of UK as well as to the local peoples. He became very famous at the time of as a finance minister, and he became the prime minister on the basis of merit due to the Lisa. Lisa failed to run the government within 45 days. He's incapable of managing the economy of this Britain. That is why he resigned from 45 days. This clearly shows that Rishi Sunak is an example of merit.
Okay, Kailash Adhikari, come back to the argument that the likes of Mr. Tharoor and Mr. Chidambaram were making. I've got a list of candidates from minority communities who've gone on to be or occupy highest offices in this country. Manmohan Singh, like I said, was a Sikh Prime Minister. Currently, we have a tribal woman president, the first ever. We had APJ Abdul Kalam as a Muslim president. Zakir Hussain was a president who was also from the Muslim community. So was Fakhruddin Ali Ahmed. Gyani Zail Singh was a Sardar. He, again, a minority candidate, went on to become president. We've had chief justices who were from the minority community. We've had, other eminent folks who've occupied constitutional offices from the minority communities. So to say that people from minority communities cannot aspire for high office in this country belies all the names that I just read out.
Absolutely, Zaka. It's there's a very famous saying in English, an empty mind is a devil's workshop. And I believe that it strictly applies to the opposition here. They are completely devoid of any argument. They're completely devoid of any content, and they're completely devoid of any merit. And to the long list that you just mentioned, I'd like to add the name of Hamid Ansari ji also. He was Vice President of India. So to say that just because someone belongs to a minority community, that too, whether a Muslim or Christian, and he cannot aspire for the top job in this country, is absolutely wrong. You're just not only belying the people who have gone to those top jobs, and you are also insulting to all those aspirants who tomorrow can become, they can occupy the top job. And also, I don't find merit in this argument that if in UK, if a person of the minority community can become in India also. Zaka, political landscapes are very different. Prior to 2014 in this country, so much of minority appeasement was done that which is not found rather in the West. So such kind of comparisons are completely bizarre. And today is a day where we all as Indians, should be proud of the fact that a person of the Indian origin has occupied the top job of the United Kingdom. And this places on record so much of trust that both the countries diplomatically and bilaterally can now gain. We should not forget that there is an FTA agreement, free trade agreement on the table, which our Commerce Minister as well as the Commerce Ministry is trying to pursue. We see light and hope that this may go through in the history of both the countries. And here is our opposition just trying, whiling away their time in talks which have no base at all.
Now, let me ask Kapil Madan this. Again, the way democracy works, Kapil, and you know this very well, is you have to win the support of the majority of the people. In Rishi Sunak's case, he managed to win the majority support of elected parliamentarians. And it happened after what happened with Boris Johnson, and Liz Truss was not able to win over their trust. Yes, she won the race, but eventually she lost the battle in 45 days. Rishi Sunak was able to win the confidence of the majority of elected parliamentarians of the Conservative Party in the British Parliament. That's how he is the leader of the Tory Party and the Prime Minister of Britain. So tomorrow, if there is a capable Muslim candidate or a Christian candidate or a Sikh candidate who can take on the BJP and win an election, win majority support of the people of this country, then by all means that person should run for office. Who's stopping them? The Constitution certainly doesn't.
Zaka, that's precisely my point, that our Constitution, it does not discriminate. We are a secular country, and it does not even require a validation that politics at the end of the day is a number game. Whomsoever has the majority I mean, of course, he will assume the office. But having said that, we can't, turn a blind eye on the fact that the BJP runs on, extreme right-wing political ideology, and you have a glaring example here where the Supreme Court is now constrained to say that, we are living in a 21st century, and the politicians are indulging into hate speech.
Kapil, again, what is happening is
All
far
I'm-
too
all-
often you're confusing issues. Yes, there
I'm
is
not.
hate. No, once again, there
I'm
is,
not.
you can make the case that there is hate speech. Oftentimes this hate speech is not acted against, or, not acted against forcefully enough. But to say that that is a deterrent for a capable candidate from a minority community to run for high office, I don't see the link. How are you linking one and the other?
Let me give you the link. I mean, you interrupted me. I would have clarified myself at the first.
Go ahead.
instance.
I'm listening
Allow
now.
me to now clarify. Now, when you have senior politicians making hate speeches left, right, and center, and let me tell you, it happens with the tacit approval of of the incumbent government, where the incumbent government, in fact, the PMO or maybe the Home Minister can simply use their Twitter handles and can condemn such kind of hate speeches. They could possibly say publicly that we are a secular country, and be it Muslim, Hindus, everyone is one as per the constitution. Never.
But Kapil, again, I'm coming back. Sorry, I'm interrupting because I don't see how you're making the connection. Yes, one thing in and of itself is bad. I'm not justifying for a moment hate speech or the lack of action against it. But how is that stopping any capable, meritorious minority candidate from aspiring for or running for a high office in this country? You're not making that link.
My point, I think you're missing the point. Zaka. My point, I am not trying to submit here that the hate speeches will deter any individual from a minority community to aspire for a good offices. All I'm trying to argue and submit here before your viewers that it is a form of the government that runs heavily on Hindutva, that runs heavily on the polarization on the plank of their Hindutva politics.
Okay.
And that's
So let me
that's-
ask Guru Prakash
that's
Paswan
of
that
the
the
Constitution.
case being made
That's the
by the
point I'm
likes
trying-
of Kapil Madan is your entire paradigm is about polarization. It's about treating minorities badly or giving them the impression that they are not like all other citizens of this country, that they have some kind of different yardstick. They are treated like second-class citizens. This entire politics revolves around that. Therefore, none of them want to be associated with your party or through it run for high office in this country.
Zaka, we have to understand a couple of things here. There are sufficiently clear because only a supporter or a sympathizer of the Congress party can say that. This is the sheer arrogance, the sheer feudalistic mindset of the Congress party that questions the wisdom of the Indian voter. You are suggesting that the entire 1.3 billion people gets polarized? Are you suggesting this? It's so easy to polarize a nation of 1.3 billion. You are questioning the intelligence and wisdom of the Indian voter, and that is something which is really objectionable, and only a Congress supporter or a sympathizer can say that. Point number one. Point number two, you were talking about hate speeches. Nagpur Congress leader Sheikh Hussain, he abuses the Prime Minister. Official national spokesperson of the Congress party, Dr. Udit Raj, says things about Baba Sahib Ambedkar, says things about the President of India, Draupadi Murmu ji. What is that? What do you suggest of that? Zaka,
But Guru, had you taken action against the likes of a Parvesh Verma? Once again, have you taken action against the likes of a Parvesh Verma? Had you set that example, then you can very well turn around and ask the Congress. But it's not like you've set an example.
Zaka, you very well remember that the Honorable Prime Minister on record said that whoever is doing violence in the name of Gauraksha should be condemned. He was on record to say that. And we don't need any validation from anyone, but we have to understand this. We have to understand, and I was just going through a very nice tweet by someone who has topped the Indian Civil Services examination. Mr. Shah Faisal, a Kashmiri Muslim who has a perspective, a perspective that any of us present in the panel has. Okay. He writes on Twitter that it is only possible in India that a Muslim youngsters from Kashmir can go on to top the Indian Civil Services examination, then fall apart with the government and still be rescued and taken back by the same government. This is the beauty of India. This is the power.
Okay.
India is a land of equal opportunity where a
Harinder
former
Sikka,
untouchable,
Harinder
a Dalit
Sikka,
drafts the Constitution of India.
The question that's being asked by the opposition is, can a Muslim or a Christian or a Sikh aspire to the highest office in this land? Of course, today the BJP is the ruling party. You're the ruling party in the center. You're ruling in, I think, about 17 or 18 states in this country. So one thing is clear, that if you aspire for high office in this country, then you stand a better chance going through the BJP rather than any other political party, given the political lay of the land as of today. In that scheme of things, how and why is it that the BJP could not find one minority member of parliament to give a ticket to, or in UP, for example, the largest state, they could not find one minority candidate to give an MLA ticket to? How is this sending a message to minority candidates, even if they are deserving, meritorious ones, that in the BJP everybody is welcome? Harinder Sikka. Mr. Sikka.
Yep.
Yeah, that question was to you,
Hello.
sir.
One second, can you repeat it, please? Sorry.
Yeah, all right, I'll repeat that question. What the opposition is saying is, if the BJP cannot give tickets to Muslim candidates, even if it is a nominal one for MP election or MLA election, then why should minority candidates, or how will minority candidates, even if they are deserving, get the confidence that they can also aspire for high office, as Rishi Sunak has aspired and shown that he can become Prime Minister of Britain?
It's absolutely unnecessary, these conversations, or creating a storm in the cup and stuff like that. Did or did not, it was Prime Minister Vajpayee who invited Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam to become the President of India. There have been a reasonably large number of minorities, both be it Muslims, be it Sikhs, who have been given tickets and voted. Now a situation had arrived that it was winning candidates who were more needed. Now I don't understand politics that much. The fact is that they want to know who are winners. And the very fact that BJP has emerged, we also must appreciate that during COVID, take for example Uttar Pradesh. Was there any family, Muslim, Hindu, Christian, which was not served proper food, proper medications and taken care of, free foods, and to the largest possible population? So this kind of discrimination to be brought out, that so and so is a Muslim, therefore he has not got a vote or a seat or ticket, or so and so is a Sikh this is absurd. This is absolutely not correct. This feeling, who are the creators of this feeling? People like Owaisi, who will we are left out. Mr. Owaisi, what is your stake? How have you become 10,000 crore worth of person? Where has this money come from? Who is funding you? Why do you speak in favor of the likes of Zakir Naiks? Now, when these kind of radicals, supported by other radicals, and some Godi media, when they point it out and raise it beyond a point, you speak a lie 10 times, it will become a truth. It's not the fact.
Okay. I want to go back to Kailash Adhikari. Coming back to Rishi Sunak. Now, one of the problems, and you could call this, they have to cater to their domestic audiences, whether it's a Rishi Sunak or even a Kamala Harris for that matter, they have to appear, and I'm sorry I'm using this phrase rather loosely here, but they have to appear more white than the average white politician, like the kind of pressure that a Rishi Sunak would face when it comes to an FTA with India, for example, which is going on right now, will be much more manifold than what a Liz Truss would have faced or what a Boris Johnson would have faced, because these guys are being held to a different standard.
Absolutely, Zaka. For Rishi Sunak, any agreement with India or any bilateral talk with India will be under the scanner multifold, not only by the Indian media but also by the British media.
Yep.
So so goes with Madam Kamala Harris, the Vice President of the United States. So while of course it is a moment for us to rejoice that a person of Indian origin, not an Indian. So we have to be quite sure of that.
Yeah.
A person of Indian origin has occupied top post in another country, but that does not give us undue favors. I mean, yes, it is a moment to rejoice. You can be happy about it, but that does not mean that it is going to get us some undue favors. Rather, on the flip side, as you mentioned, any agreement with India or any talk with India will be more under the scanner. So that person has to be much more careful.
So how do you then marry the two? On the one hand, you're having some people say, oh, this is a great moment for India. A person of Indian origin has become prime minister. There's a Hindu prime minister in Britain. So that's one part of it. The other part of it is, and this is a fact. His family left in the 1930s. They went to Kenya. His father was born in Kenya. He was born in England. His father and mother migrated to England. They were students there, and then eventually they went on. I think the father was a doctor. The mother used to run a medical store. Rishi Sunak was born in Britain. He is a third generation British man. So how do you marry these two? Because it seems contradictory on the face of it.
Zaga, I don't feel the need to, marry these both. Rishi Sunak is a British citizen. There's no doubt about that. There's no two ways about that. He's just a person of Indian origin. That's it. And as Indians, we, to the maximum extent, can be happy about it. I mean, all over social media, if you see today, there are so many memes where people are saying Uno flip because of the British Raj, how the colonial power ruled over India. So, I mean, I'm not going into all that because that's past, that's history. I would not like to equate that. That's not in the right spirit. But we can just be happy about that fact. It does not. It should not be. It should not lead to any more conclusions.
Okay, I'll give Guru Prakash the final word. Guru Prakash, again, I come back to this contradiction that on the one hand, we're all happy that a person of Indian origin, for the very first time, a person of color has become the Prime Minister of Britain. But yet at the same time, they have to, like I said, appear more white than the average white politician because they are held to a different standard. So, how do you marry the contradiction?
Well, Zaka, we have to understand how Honorable Prime Minister warmly greeted Mr. Sunak on his appointment on Twitter, and the sort of phrases which he used that we are going to closely work and cooperate. But the travesty of this entire issue is that some of the political leaders back in India, they want to create this as an issue of minority tolerance. And this is clearly beyond my comprehension. It is an international affairs issue. A person of Indian origin has risen to the top through sheer determination, through sheer merit, and instead of welcoming that, you are generating another controversy. And someone with the likes of Mehbooba Mufti and Shashi Tharoor, who are notorious for doing all this. But we have to understand that it took us more than 7 decades. It took us more than 7 decades to have a woman from the tribal community as a head of the constitutional position, as the President of India. So we don't need any lessons from anyone to guide us and say that we need to learn from them when it comes to representation, diversity and inclusion.
Okay,
Zaka.
we'll have to leave it at that. Thanks very much to all our guests, Guru Prakash Paswan, Kapil Madan, Kailash Adhikari, Harinder Sikka and Adnan Malik for joining us and talking about the opposition and some opposition politicians trying to make a controversy out of this. One of them is Dr. Shashi Tharoor. CNN News 18's political editor Maria Shakil spoke with Mr. Tharoor, who defended his tweet about how India should learn lessons from Britain after Rishi Sunak's appointment as Prime Minister.
Your tweet has set off a storm. One may say that this invocation of majoritarian angle in Rishi Sunak's elevation is superficial, sir.
Well, look, I mean, the fact is that they have overlooked a fundamental question of race, that he is a brown-skinned person. He is not of Anglo-Saxon stock or English stock or Scots stock or anything like that. He is somebody of Indian origin. And the British, who were notorious and justifiably so for their racial discrimination for a couple of centuries of imperial conquest and rule, a country that used to have racial restrictions on who could enter their clubs in India and Africa till half a century, 60 years ago, such a country has been able to outgrow the worst of its own prejudices to actually create a situation where a brown man can become prime minister. I think that's an extraordinary achievement. Secondly, they've overlooked his religion. I mean, he is an overtly practicing Hindu, proud of his faith, takes his oath on the Bhagavad Gita. He is somebody who, even when campaigning for the Tory party leadership a couple of months ago, tweeted pictures of himself performing a cow puja and praying to Lord Krishna on Janmashtami. This is somebody who's absolutely overtly proud of practicing a faith which is not only not the majority faith in Britain, but is actually at odds with the established church there, which is, as you know, the Anglican Christian church. So here you've got somebody who's a double minority, as it were, and the British have been able to overlook their prejudices and take him on.
Yes.
I would really like to see the Hindutvavadis of the BJP being prepared to embrace somebody who comes from a different ethnicity, such as, for example, you remember when Sonia Gandhi was offered the premiership by her victorious coalition in 2004, you remember what the BJP said then, and the BJP leader wanted to shave her head and go on dharna outside Parliament. And then if there's somebody who goes outside the Indic religions, because Hindutva has always said that Hindus, Sikhs, Jains, Buddhists, they're all the same, they're all their holy land is this land, but anyone from anywhere else is actually a foreigner in our country.
Okay.
Would they embrace somebody who's an overtly practicing Muslim or Christian as Prime Minister?
Dr.
I'm
Tharoor,
asking this in all genuineness. Yes. I'm not saying that it's... I think we have to acknowledge that what's happened is very different from what would happen here.
But Dr. Tharoor, what the BJP is saying is, and it's reminding you of Indian history, that India has had 3 presidents from the minority community. Dr. Zakir Hussain, the 3rd president of India, was a Muslim. Justice Hidayatullah, who acted as an acting president.
I know Indian history, Maria.
Yes, of course. Fakhruddin Ali Ahmed, Gyani Zail Singh.
But we also know that the presidency... We also know the presidency is a largely ceremonial office and contains absolutely no power. The Prime Minister holds the power in this country. We know that very well, which is why it's possible for them to appoint to Rashtrapati Bhavan figures who do represent in many ways the diversity we'd like to celebrate in our country. It's wonderful to have an Adivasi president. We've had 2 Dalit presidents. We've had 3 Muslim presidents. All of this is a very good thing because it signifies that we can use this very high office, high in prestige but low in power, to use that office for such purposes. But when it comes to real power, we have had the prime ministership held only by Hindus, with one exception being a Sikh, but most Hindus would not regard that as such an exception as it would be to have someone from a quote-unquote non-Indic religion. Now, this is what is remarkable, I think, about what the Brits have done. I'm no Anglophile. I've written about British racism. I've written about British imperialism. I've been uncompromising in my criticism of that. But I have to admit that one has to take one's hat off for recognizing that they were able to outgrow their long decades and centuries of racial prejudice. They were able to overcome their religious scruples, and they were able to say, let's look at the merit of this individual and go for him, whatever his racial and religious background.
Okay.
And not to mention his age. I mean, in India, let's just ask you, Maria, this is a guy who got elected for the first time in 2015. He's been 7 years an MP.
Yes.
7 years, and within 5 years he became finance minister. Within 7 years he became prime minister. In any ruling party in India, he'd be lucky to be an MOS at that time. So that too is a remarkable thing. So when I say, could it happen in India? You should look at race, you should look at religion, you should look at age and experience. Okay. We have, I think, valuable lessons to learn.
Or in the way the city gets administered.
Absolutely. That's the most unfortunate bit. And do stay on with me because Akshara also continues to be with us. And Akshara, you've visited several of these sites where potholes have claimed lives in the city of Bengaluru. There is temporary solutions that is found. There are either rocks that are put around there. There is rocks that are used to fill up the pothole. But that's not a permanent solution, which is why we keep seeing the same stretch of road and the same pothole back there once again every few days.
Yes, absolutely. As I mentioned before, this is not a permanent solution which is being done by the BBMP. And the citizens also have highlighted the fact that the roads have to be asphalted completely. Now we have seen the BBMP coming up with a training session on October 31st, where they'll train the engineers regarding the techniques that needs to be used while filling the potholes so that they sustain longer. And there is also an issue going on with the American company which maintains the roads in Bengaluru as well. So if you take a look at the program, the training session that will be conducted, that will be a training that will be given to the BBMP engineers. So again, the citizens pointed out the fact that if the training is given to the engineers regarding the techniques and the potholes will be filled, so the potholes might resurface again. So they are demanding a permanent solution regarding this issue.
Right, permanent solution is what the people of Bengaluru, is what the people of Karnataka need. Akshara and Harish, do stay on with me because we're also taking your calls live here on this broadcast. The numbers are flashing at the bottom of your screens. The pothole menace continues to haunt people of Bengaluru. Who is to be blamed and will heads roll? That's the question we're asking here on this broadcast. We'd like you to call in with your view. Let us know what you want from your representatives in the state of Karnataka, in the city of Bengaluru, and we'd like to put those questions to those elected representatives and what action they are taking as far as the pothole menace in the city is concerned. Now, several lives have been lost in the city of Bengaluru, across the state of Karnataka as well, and this is the story we see every single monsoon. One heavy downpour and the roads go for a toss. There are pothole-ridden roads on newly asphalted roads as well. And Harish, that's the most unfortunate bit. It's not like these roads are built 10, 20 years ago. Some of them are built a couple of months ago, and yet we see gaping holes in them.
Absolutely. Remember, every time a fresh tender goes out for asphalting of a road, it has details, it has certain conditions. There is a defect liability period. There is a maintenance period, which means if a road develops any sort of a issue with its quality, whether it's potholes or cracking up or peeling off, the liability lies on the contractor who has executed that particular tender. Now, the question is, how many of these contractors have been made to cough up for putting up such substandard road? Second, have they been blacklisted? How many contractors have been blacklisted? We haven't seen this. We haven't seen the government coming out and saying, well, we believe this contractor, ex-contractor hasn't done his job properly. We are blacklisting him from all government works. That hasn't happened. We haven't seen that. Second, this raises a bigger question. If the government is not going after the contractors for such shoddy jobs, such substandard work, one wonders if they are in hand in glove with the contractors. The fact that the Contractors Association a few months back came out and said that irrespective of the work that's happening, whether it's from the BBMP or other agencies of the government, demanding 40% commission leaves us with very little scope to carry out good quality work in government infrastructure. Raises question on if that's the reason the government is not going after the contractors.
We are seeing unique protests like these which took place yesterday, where on the occasion of Diwali, a citizen decided to get the attention of the civic body and of the politicians that these potholes continue to claim lives, that these potholes continue to create a menace for the people of the city, which is why he was seen bursting crackers in multiple of those potholes across the city. And Harish, we've been discussing how there are political ramifications of this as well. The crumbling infrastructure, not just in Bengaluru, but across the state, is something that the BJP will have to combat come election next year.
Absolutely. And the fact that several of these problematic areas are the ones that have seen crores of rupees being spent in terms of asphalting the entire stretch. In some cases, bridges and ROBs built just a few weeks back, and them developing potholes. It adds to the whole narrative that the Congress is saying that this BJP government is corrupt, takes 40% commission in every government contract, as a result of which we have substandard work. And with multiple infrastructure projects facing questions of quality standards, and now you have pothole-ridden roads across Bengaluru, this despite the BBMP saying that they've spent hundreds of crores in the last 2 years just to fill potholes. We are not even talking about laying a new road or asphalting existing roads. Just to fill potholes, hundreds of crores have been spent. And now there will be question marks on what kind of works that have been carried out by the BBMP and how the state government hasn't done a quality check or pulled up any of these contractors. And yesterday, citizens, despite the fact that the entire city and the nation was celebrating Deepavali, did not forget to once again use the opportunity to highlight the kind of crumbling road infrastructure in Bengaluru and going around some of these problematic pothole.
Welcome back. India's largest Islamic seminary, Darul Uloom Deoband, is not recognized by the Uttar Pradesh Madrasa Education Board after a recent survey of madrasas across the state. Madrasas which are not recognized, and according to the survey, there are about 7,000 of them across the state of Uttar Pradesh, they will not get any government grants or funds, not even scholarships. Their umbrella institutions will also not be recognized. Remember, Darul Uloom Deoband has about 3,000 madrasas under it. There are about 4,000 students studying there in one institution alone every single year. So what happens? Is this a cleanup? Why shouldn't the biggest Islamic seminary in the country come under some form of regulation of a state authority? Or is this simply persecution by the Yogi Adityanath government?
Prominent Islamic seminary Darul Uloom Deoband is among 300 madrasas in Saharanpur, which are not recognized by the Uttar Pradesh Madrasa Education Board. This was discovered in a controversial survey being carried out by the Uttar Pradesh government since the 10th of September to identify unrecognized madrasas in the state. The move to not recognize Darul Uloom Deoband has triggered outrage.
अंतर्राष्ट्रीय ख्याति प्राप्त विश्वविख्यात संस्था दारुल उलूम देवबंद के बारे में तंग-नज़री रखना ये अच्छे संकेत नहीं है। ऐसी संस्था पूरी इस्लामिक दुनिया के लिए एक नज़ीर है। ऐसी संस्था में बहस करना सूरज को दिया दिखाने जैसा है।
Opposition parties have also questioned the Uttar Pradesh government.
Uttar Pradesh government and BJP government, they are after madrasas just to create hatred in the country. Now, those who are supporting British people, they are Deshbhakt, and Deobandi Maulvis who are fighting for the freedom, they are Deshdrohi.
As per the survey, there are more than 7,000 unrecognized madrasas educating more than 16 lakh students in Uttar Pradesh. These madrasas have around 3,000 teachers and other staff. Madrasas which are not recognized will not get benefits of government schemes like scholarships for students and salaries for teachers. So is this a cleanup or is it a persecution?
Let's go across to Dr. Iftikhar Ahmed Javed, who's the chairman of the UP Board of Madrasa Education. Dr. Iftikhar Ahmed, बहुत-बहुत धन्यवाद हमारे साथ जुड़ने के लिए. दारुल उलूम देवबंद जो माना जाता है कि देश का सबसे बड़ा इस्लामिक सेमिनारी है, हर साल वहाँ पे 4,000 से 5,000 के बीच में बच्चे पढ़ते हैं. उनके नीचे ही करीबन 3,000 छोटे मदरसे आते हैं. देवबंद को आपने यूपी मदरसा एजुकेशन बोर्ड जो है उसका रिकग्निशन क्यों नहीं मिल रहा, उससे बाहर उससे अतिरिक्त क्यों रखा आपने?
देखिए, दारुल उलूम देवबंद जैसी 10 संस्थाएं इस उत्तर प्रदेश के अंदर हैं जिनके बारे में हमारे नियमावली में जो रूल एंड रेगुलेशंस हमारे हैं, जो हमारे एक्ट में है, उनमें उनका जिक्र बाकायदा है. ये मेरे पास है. ये कभी भी आप जो हमारा मदरसा बोर्ड का पोर्टल है उस पर ये सारी चीजें हैं. एक्ट 2004 भी है और नियमावली 2016 भी है. इस नियमावली में ये लिखा हुआ है कि 10 मदरसों का नाम है. ये ऐसे मदरसे हैं जो हमारे जो मदरसा बोर्ड के एग्जाम्स होते हैं, सीनियर सेकेंडरी, आलिम और फाजिल के, ये 10 जो मदरसे हैं दारुल उलूम जैसे, नदवा जैसे, इनके इक्विवेलेंट हैं, समकक्ष हैं. ये बाकायदा लिखा हुआ है. तो इनको
उनका मानना ये है, नहीं ये बताइए, उनका मानना ये है, दिस इंस्टीट्यूट वाज फाउंडेड इन 1866. सिर्फ सहारनपुर में ही करीबन 300 ऐसे छोटे मदरसे हैं जो इनके नीचे आते हैं. उनका मानना और उनका कहना ये है कि अगर इफ इट कम्स अंडर द यूपी मदरसा एजुकेशन बोर्ड तो फिर सरकार के पास जाना पड़ेगा पैसे के लिए, और सरकार के पास अगर आप चले जाएंगे तो फिर वो इंटरफेरेंस निकला जाएगा.
वो अलग विषय है कि वो सरकार से मान्यता ले रहे, लेकिन उनको हमारी सरकार ने, हमारे गवर्नमेंट ने बाकायदा रूल एंड रेगुलेशंस जो बना रखा है, जो हमारे पोर्टल पे है, जो मदरसा बोर्ड का जो है बाकायदा एक्ट है, उस एक्ट में ये लिखा हुआ है कि इन मदरसों में हम जा करके ट्रेनिंग लें और इनके यहाँ जा करके प्रशिक्षण लें और अनुसंधान इनके चीजों को देखें, वहां से सीखें, ये बकायदा है।
नहीं,
और ये 10 मदरसों का नाम
वहां पे ऐसा क्या
है,
काम नहीं हो रहा है या हो रहा है जिसकी
जी।
वजह से आप कह रहे हैं कि मदरसा एजुकेशन बोर्ड के नीचे वो नहीं आएंगे?
नहीं, हमारा ये कहना है कि जो बाकी चीजें हैं, उनके रूल एंड रेगुलेशंस, उनका जो रजिस्ट्रेशन वगैरह है, वो बाकी जगहों पे हो रहा है कि नहीं हो रहा है, वो ठीक है, देखना चाहिए। लेकिन मदरसा बोर्ड उनको मान्यता दे जो खुद हमारे पैरेलल हैं, हमारे समकक्ष हैं, या हमारे नियमावली कह रही है, वो हमारे इक्विवेलेंट हैं। उनके डिग्रीज को तो आज की तारीख में अलीगढ़ मुस्लिम यूनिवर्सिटी, जामिया मिलिया इस्लामिया, जवाहरलाल नेहरू जेएनयू यूनिवर्सिटी, मौलाना आजाद उर्दू यूनिवर्सिटी, मद्रास यूनिवर्सिटी, उस्मानिया, जामिया कश्मीर, लखनऊ यूनिवर्सिटी, मैसूर यूनिवर्सिटी, ये सारे यूनिवर्सिटी दारुल उलूम देवबंद के डिग्री को अपने यहाँ एडमिशन लेते हैं।
नहीं, लेकिन डॉक्टर इफ्तिकार साहब, आपने जिन जिन इंस्टीट्यूशंस का नाम लिया, चाहे जामिया हो, चाहे उस्मानिया हो, ये सब रिकग्नाइज्ड कॉलेजेस और यूनिवर्सिटीज है ना, ये तो मदरसे थोड़ी ना है
ना, वो भी दारुल उलूम भी रिकॉग्नाइज्ड है।
नहीं, तो वही मैं पूछ रहा हूँ, आप ये तो साफ कर दीजिए ना कि देवबंद क्या मदरसा है या यूनिवर्सिटी है?
एक तरह का यूनिवर्सिटी है, इस्लामिक यूनिवर्सिटी है वो।
तो अगर इस्लामिक यूनिवर्सिटी है तो यूपी मदरसा बोर्ड के अंदर तो आना चाहिए ना।
हमारा मदरसा बोर्ड है,
किसी तरह का कोई एक रेगुलेटरी बॉडी तो होना चाहिए कि वहां पे बच्चों को क्या सिखाया जा रहा है, क्या पढ़ाई लिखाई हो रही है वहां पे।
फिर वहां पे वो गवर्नमेंट के सिस्टम, उनका बायोलॉज, उनका रजिस्ट्रेशन कैसा है, वो है। मेरा जो बयान था, मैंने जो कहा, जब मदरसा दारुल उलूम के बारे में जब अवैध खबरें, इलीगल न्यूज चलने लगी, तो मैंने कहा कि उन्हें मदरसा बोर्ड से मान्यता की जरूरत नहीं है। मैंने ये नहीं कहा कि उन्हें मान्यता की जरूरत नहीं है, मैंने कहा
ये बताइए, आपके जो स्टेट वाइड सर्वे जो हुई है उसमें आपने ये पाया कि करीबन 7,000 ऐसे मदरसे हैं जो अनरिकग्नाइज्ड हैं और 15-16 लाख बच्चे वहां पढ़ रहे हैं। इनका क्या होगा?
नहीं, इनका तो पता करना है ना, यही तो हम सर्वे कर रहे हैं। ये इस सर्वे को कुछ लोगों ने इन्वेस्टिगेशन नाम दे दिया, जांच के ला दिया, और जांच कह करके इनको लीगल, इलीगल,
नहीं, इफ्तिकार साहब, जांच तो हो, मतलब आपका जो सर्वे जो है वो हो गया। आपने आपका कंक्लूजन ये है, आपका फाइंडिंग ये है कि 7,000 के करीब मदरसे हैं जो इलीगल हैं, वहां पे 15-16 लाख बच्चे पढ़ रहे हैं। अब क्या होगा, उनका भविष्य क्या होगा, वही मैं पूछ रहा हूँ।
नहीं, वो तो पता कर रहा है कि वो अगर हमारे मदरसा बोर्ड से मान्यता उनकी नहीं है, ठीक है, तो उनकी मान्यता कहां से है, वो कौन सा सिलेबस पढ़ रहे हैं,
ये बच्चे कहाँ जाएंगे? अगर कल को एक सुबह यूपी सरकार ने और मदरसा बोर्ड ने ये बोल दिया, इफ्तिकार साहब ये बोल दिया कि देखिए इन जो मदरसे हैं 7,000 के करीब जो हैं, उनको कोई रिकग्निशन नहीं है, यूपी मदरसा बोर्ड उनको रिकग्नाइज नहीं कर रही है, तो वो बच्चे क्या करेंगे?
उनको अपने साथ जोड़ेंगे फिर हम। वो खुद चाहते हैं कि उत्तर प्रदेश के जो मदरसा बोर्ड है, जिसका मैं चेयरमैन हूं, वो हमारे बोर्ड से जुड़ना चाहते हैं। लेकिन 7 सालों से हमारे बोर्ड ने किसी भी मदरसे को मान्यता नहीं दी है, क्योंकि हमारे यहाँ मान्यता में तमाम चीजें हुई, पोर्टल वगैरह बना, बीच में कोविड, तमाम बोर्ड नहीं था हमारा। उसके बाद अब उनको आने वाले दिनों में जब उनका डेटा हमें प्राप्त होगा, उसके बाद हम उनको जो है एनालिसिस करके उनको अपने बोर्ड से जोड़ेंगे।
इफ्तिकार अहमद साहब, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद हमारे साथ जुड़ने के लिए। द चेयरमैन ऑफ द यूपी मदरसा एजुकेशन बोर्ड। There is 2 big controversies, one around Deoband, which is the biggest Islamic seminary in the country. The Madrasa board is saying that they do not recognize the Deoband. That, of course, puts in peril the future of about 3,000-4,000 students who are studying there. And, of course, many hundreds of smaller madrasas that are affiliated to Deoband. And the second one, of course, is the sheer number of illegal madrasas without any oversight, any regulation, any affiliation from any sort of government body or quasi-government body that are still prevalent, thriving and flourishing in a state like Uttar Pradesh. Let me bring in Rahul Ishwar, author and activist, Mohammad Asif Hussain, Suhail, who's a political analyst. Rahul Ishwar, you know, what people in Deoband, what people whose children are being sent to madrasas are saying is that this is an entirely witch hunt exercise. You are not doing a survey of convent schools, you are not doing a survey of other government schools. Why are you picking on just madrasas?
Zaka, you may remember, last February 18, 2020, Yogi government allocated the largest state budget for madrasas in the UP history with almost 479 crores exclusively allocated for madrasas. So let us understand the numbers itself because numbers do speak. Second, yes, one far right or ultra right people, do, abuse madrasas. That's a reality. Nobody can ignore. We all see that. But madrasa education is very important. We had our first education minister, Bharat Ratna Maulana Abul Kalam Azad from madrasa. We have our greatest president, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. His father was an imam. They initially studied in madrasa. So we have a rich legacy, and as you rightly pointed out in the beginning, lakhs of students, take shelter in these madrasas to learn and educate. That's the reason why there needs to be proper survey. There needs to be proper regularization. Let us be honest about it. See, the Christian education.
But Rahul, the question that's being asked is why aren't you doing that for Catholic schools? Why aren't you doing that for regular government schools? Or why aren't you even doing that for your Shishu Mandirs and so on?
No, let me be very honest regarding this. Government schools, yes, they do have proper data and they are properly accounted for. The Christian Catholic schools are some of the best run schools in the nation. I have studied there, perhaps you have studied there. We all know the quality. But, in order to ensure quality, we need to have a very nuanced approach. And, Sufi Mahapanchayat some years back rightly pointed out that the Wahhabi Saudi money is being spent on so many things that they are promoting a radical version of the Holy Islam that is misinterpreted.
So let me ask Muhammad Asif Hussain Sohail, if there are 7,000 unrecognized madrasas just in the state of Uttar Pradesh, I shudder to think how many there are across the country. Who is monitoring them, Sohail Saab? Somebody has to see, what is being taught there. वहाँ पे क्या मतलब सिर्फ कुरान ही पढ़ाया जाता है या इनको कोई साइंस, केमिस्ट्री, बायोलॉजी, फिजिक्स ये क्या ये इन बच्चों का हक नहीं है कि दे ऑल्सो गेट अ मॉडर्न एजुकेशन? जैसे प्रधानमंत्री जी ने बोला कि एक हाथ पे कुरान और दूसरे हाथ पे लैपटॉप, इसको कौन रेगुलेट करेगा? हु इज गोइंग टू ओवरसी दिस?
Zaka, thanks for inviting me. First of all, आपको पता होगा about the देवबंद जो हो सो दुनिया का one of the finest institution है जो आज़ादी की लड़ाई में दे हैव प्लेड ए मेजर रोल इन गेटिंग द फ्रीडम फॉर दिस कंट्री. हमें भूलना नहीं चाहिए देवबंद का क्या जो हो सो इसमें इन्वॉल्वमेंट था. और दूसरी चीज़ दे हैव गिवन ए बिग स्कॉलर्स टू द कंट्री. और ये रहा देखिए बोर्ड रिकग्नाइज अनरिकग्नाइज का जो सिस्टम बताया जा रहा है ये तो गलत है. देखिए बोर्ड वहाँ पर इंग्लिश और दूसरे कोर्सेज के लिए ग्रांट दे रहा है, इन देवबंद ने नहीं लिया है तो उसमें रिकग्नाइजेशन की जरूरत ही नहीं है ना. दे आर ऑलरेडी रजिस्टर्ड इन द सोसाइटीज एक्ट और उनका पूरा अकाउंटिंग होता है. ऐसे कई मदरसे हैं जो एक दूसरी नजर से देखिए दिस बिन कंप्लीटली एक प्लान बताकर जो हो. सुनिए मैं लेट मी फिनिश इट ऑफ एंड आई विल आंसर यू. लेट मी फिनिश इट ऑफ.
10 seconds. No, you are
please
saying
just give me 10 seconds.
Deoband does not have to come under the UP State Madrasa Board. Fair enough. I don't have a problem with that. It's like saying tomorrow I can start an engineering college and that engineering college will not come under AICTE. यही हुई ना बात.
देखिए नहीं तो मैं बता रहा हूँ ना, आप पहले मदरसा क्यों ये बोर्ड क्यों बनाया गया वो देखिए. कोई ग्रांट के लिए बनाया गया. दिस अपार्ट फ्रॉम दैट देर कुछ नहीं है. आपने बोला मदरसा में कुरान पढ़ाते हैं. हाँ बेशक मदरसे में कुरान और हदीस और मुल्क से मोहब्बत करना सिखाते हैं. मैं नहीं जानता हूं कि कोई और मदरसे है जिसमें आतंकवादी गतिविधि सिखाते हैं. हो सकता है वहां से साध्वी पकिया, कर्नल पुरोहित ऐसे कई लोग पढ़ के आए होंगे. हम तो नहीं पढ़े, हमारे लोग कभी पढ़ते नहीं. हम मोहब्बत करते हैं मुल्क से.
असम में 3 या 4 ऐसे मदरसे थे जहां से अल-कायदा इन द सबकॉन्टिनेंट के लोग पकड़े गए. I'm not making this up.
देखिए हम मीडिया ट्रायल नहीं करेंगे सर. ये कोर्ट ऑफ लॉ है, एक संविधान है, कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में until and unless they have been proved.
आपने कोई ऐसा केस नहीं देखा इस देश में जहां से मदरसे से टेररिस्ट को पकड़ा गया था? राहुल ईश्वर, come on, just in Assam, I'm giving one example of one state. A few months back, we had 3 or 4 madrasas from where AQIS people, AQIS terrorists were apprehended, and some of those madrasas got bulldozed as well. Yeah, so to say that no terrorists have been arrested from madrasas, that is far from the truth.
Yeah, so please remember there is no need to be confrontational. Every community may have 0.001% hardliners or radicals. Our community has, your community also has, and it has been a proved fact. Like Saka said, let us not be defensive about it. Only when we are open and honest about it, we can root out radicalism. As you rightly said, Yadi Narsingh Anand is a curse on my community. Similarly, there are ISIS or Al-Qaeda which are a curse on your community too. There has been some instances where people from madrasas, only some micro minority madrasas, are being caught for for radicalizing or promoting extreme Wahhabi or Daesh, whichever name you want to call it, or extreme Islamism. So let us not shy ourselves from accepting the reality. Nobody is demonizing, nobody is stereotyping, but we should not close our eyes towards reality, because otherwise it can create a lot of suspicion. So let us be honest about it. We need to have, every government agency or every religious institution need to have an oversight, need to have an Indian framework for it. And we are Indian Muslims and Indian Hindus are Indian Christians and Indian everything else. So please remember, we need to have a nuanced approach towards it. There is no vision. If government is going to have an oversight, and if you have any problem with it, you can approach courts too. So that's the reason why Sufi Mahapanchayat, one of the most respected Muslim organizations, went on record to say that the petrodollars from Saudi are being funded to India. Is this not a serious issue? We need to know, or anybody, including
Rahul,
you, should
Rahul,
know.
let me answer you for this.
Yeah, Sohail sir.
Please, Sohail sir.
या देखिए हमें जानना चाहिए, मक्का मस्जिद, मुलुम्नी पार्क, गोकुल चाट, अजमेर में कौन ब्लास्ट किया? कौन से मदरसे के लोग थे क्या? कोई मजहब नहीं सिखाता, हिंदुइज्म और इस्लाम किसी को मारना नहीं सिखाता। ये सारे लोग मुल्क के तोड़ने के लिए जो कोशिश कर रहे हैं वो लोग हैं। ना इनको मदरसों से कोई मतलब है, ना मंदिरों से क्यों मतलब है, सिर्फ इन्हें मुल्क को तोड़ने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं। वी नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड, नो रिलीजन
सोहेल साहब ये बताइए, एक सेकंड, आई एम आस्किंग यू अ सिंपल क्वेश्चन। हमारे बच्चों को सुनिए, 10 सेकंड सुनिए, हमारे बच्चों को हम सीबीएसई स्कूल में भेजते हैं या आईसीएसई स्कूल में भेजते हैं, तो हमें पता है कि देयर इज अ बोर्ड दैट सेट्स अ करिकुलम, ये टेक्स्ट बुक्स हैं, ये पढ़ाया जाता है। मैं आपसे पूछ रहा हूं, देयर आर 16 लाख अनरिकॉग्नाइज्ड मदरसास, जस्ट 16 लाख स्टूडेंट्स स्टडीइंग इन 7,000 अनरिकॉग्नाइज्ड मदरसास इन द स्टेट ऑफ उत्तर प्रदेश अलोन। क्या उनके माँ बाप को ये फिक्र नहीं होना चाहिए कि इन बच्चों को क्या पढ़ाया जाता है, कौन उसको ओवरसी कर रहा है, क्या रेगुलेशन है वहां पे, क्या रेगुलेटरी अथॉरिटी कौन है?
देखिए सर, वो लोग, और मैं वही बोल रहा हूं ना, दे हैव ऑलरेडी रजिस्टर्ड इन सोसाइटी एक्ट। ठीक है, अकाउंटेबिलिटी हर किसी की ज़रूरत है, ज़रूरी होना चाहिए, मदरसों की भी होना चाहिए, दूसरे जो नॉन मुस्लिम इंस्टीट्यूशन है उन्हीं की भी होना चाहिए, सबकी होना चाहिए। सिर्फ एक ही, वी शुड नॉट टारगेट वन रिलीजन, इट हैज़ टू बी इक्वली। दैट्स व्हाट आई सेड ना, इफ इट हैज़ टू बी सर्वे सभी के लिए करिए। आप सर्वे किस चीज़ के लिए कर रहे हैं? आपका इंटेंशन अच्छा है तो पहले आप इस एजुकेशन सिस्टम को बढ़ाने की, यू आर टॉकिंग अबाउट द एजुकेशन सिस्टम इन उत्तर प्रदेश। आप जाकर देखिए कितने स्कूलों में बाथरूम बने, वॉशरूम से, कितने स्कूल्स में टीचर्स नहीं है, स्कूलों की हालत क्या है? सर, डिबेट ऑन दैट, आई एम रेडी टू डिबेट विद मिनिस्टर।
राहुल, अगेन
यूपी के मिनिस्टर को बुलाइए, एजुकेशन मिनिस्टर, आई विल डिबेट ऑन इट।
So the case that people like Mr. Sohail are making is that the aided madrasas in the state of Uttar Pradesh, for example, there are about 558 aided madrasas, where for the last 4 years, people like Mr. Sohail have been saying that the government is not paying salaries of teachers.
Please, if there is an issue, please do raise. That's the reason why I said February 18, 2020 in UP, 479 crores, the largest ever budgetary allocation for madrasas was done by Yogi government. And if there are
where is that gone then? If these teachers are alleging that for the last 4 years in 558 madrasas across the country, across the state, they have not been paid, then where are those salaries going?
If there are any discrepancies, they can definitely approach the government. They can definitely approach the court, because these are all accounted government money. Can we forget that? But the larger point here is, do we need to have a supervision? Do we need to have an oversight over the content that is taught? We all know that there is a radical Islamist strand in the world, which is, very less in India, but there is. That's the reason why Rajnath Singh, the then defense minister, said Al-Qaeda didn't succeed in India because we have Indian Muslims with us. But there are minorities, and for example, the state I come from, Sir, Kerala, 100 people went and joined ISIS. Kerala is one of the heavens for pluralism and secularism in India. Why did 100 people from Kerala went and joined ISIS? Is it not a serious threat? This will alienate Muslim community further. This will victimize Muslim community further.
So, I'll give you the final word. मैं सिर्फ इतना ही पूछ रहा हूँ. If CBSE schools are regulated, ICSE schools are regulated, आपके colleges, universities are regulated, UGC के अंडर आते हैं, AICT के अंडर आते हैं, तो why should madrasas not be regulated?
देखिए, आप जो बात कर रहे हैं ना आईएसएस की हो, क्यों आप प्रॉपर एजुकेशन नहीं प्रोवाइड कर रहे हैं, प्रॉपर जो हो सो लोगों को आप अवेयरनेस नहीं है, काउंसलिंग नहीं है। और रही देखो, यू हैव सीन हाउ मेनी चिल्ड्रंस हैव डाइड इन यूपी, I don't have to say your channel, you are the one who has said that. आप खुद check कर लीजिए, चाहे वो schools के अंदर हो, hospitals में हो. Let's start from there. Why are we going from down? आज need of the hour is the education. Education
thank you very much,
can bring the reform.
And Rahul Ishwar for joining us. But we'll see how the story plays out. Right now, it's an interim report. The full report has not been submitted to the UP government. And then what the government decides to do thereafter will be interesting to watch. That's a wrap. Maria Shakil joining you with News Epicenter.
Even the Supreme Court has not found any fault with her. Supreme Court has said that the process of selection and appointment was illegal.
ഷോ കോസ് തന്നിട്ടുണ്ട്. എനിക്ക് മനസ്സിലാവാത്തത് ഞാൻ എന്ത് ഷോ കോസിന് എന്ത് മറുപടിയാണ് കൊടുക്കേണ്ടത്, എന്നെ എന്തിനാണ് അപ്പോയിന്റ് ചെയ്തതിന്റെ ഞാൻ എങ്ങനെയാണ് കോസ് പറയുന്നത്?
ക്യാമ്പസുകളെ വർഗീയവൽക്കരിച്ച് സമൂഹത്തിൽ ഭിന്നിപ്പുണ്ടാക്കുന്നതിനുള്ള ശ്രമങ്ങൾ തീവ്രമാകുന്നു.
Hello everyone, you're watching News Epicenter with me, Maria Shakil. The varsity war in Kerala continues to escalate with a showdown between the Kerala government and the Kerala governor. The Kerala governor, Arif Muhammad Khan, has issued show cause notices to 11 vice-chancellors in the state, claiming that a recent Supreme Court ruling has made it clear that their appointment has been illegal. On Sunday, Arif Muhammad Khan asked the VCs to resign, claiming they were either appointed from single-name panels or recommended by selection committees with non-academic members. This has become a political flashpoint in the state, with Kerala Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan accusing the governor of interfering